Hello, my name is Mandolin Royal, and today it's the beginning of the end for the way I've been managing my flock over the last 8 years since we've been on this property. 7 of those years, I had the American breasts, and they changed everything that I thought I knew about chicken. I want to do a little recap. And I want to talk about some theories that I feel like I've proven over this time, as well as touch on my plans for next season. Because when I get to right about July, I'm already thinking about next year. To me, emotionally, this year is already over. So, I feel like I was on a whirlwind this past spring. And I didn't grow any birds for me yet. I was trying to take a little dent out of my wait list, and I sort of did. But it feels like for every one group I let go of, I got a request from 5 other people. So, I didn't really make any progress. But my flock is for my needs first. I'm doing this for the bird. I'm doing this for our food, our meat, our eggs, and our future flock. When I let go of birds, it's to help someone else do that same thing. And I'd really rather it not be for profiteering. Profiteering off of poultry, more often than not, damages what the birds could be. Because your priorities have to change. Your methodology has to change. If you want to switch from for the bird to for profit, those are 2 different flocks. I'm sorry my camera's wiggling a little bit because I have hand motions going on with this because I feel strongly on some pretty core principles in figuring out what your flock goals actually are. And I've gone back and forth on the different approaches that you can have in how you manage your flock. And I keep coming back to it's for the birds. It's for the sustainability. It's for the food. It's for the culinary side and the future flock. So what it takes to go into high production for profit and having the birds do that, I don't like what that reality looks like. So I'm not doing it. We're going to keep eating well, and I'm going to keep my scale the same. I'm not making those changes to take advantage. And I'm not going to lose the bird by going through that process. I'm just not doing it. So, my original American breast flock was actually pretty good. And they showed me something I'd never seen from another purebred heritage type of bird. They showed me meat. They showed me breast meat. They showed me a high rate of lay. So those are some core things I'm never going to let go of throughout all of my little breeding adventures. I did some experimentation and some dabbling into some other genetics within the American breast breed. 3 out of 4 were a failure. I'm cleaning up the ramifications of that experimentation. And I'm actually okay with that because I learned a lot. I learned what's normal for the breed. And what's normal for the breed is not what I want in my pens because I've seen better than that. I know what they can be. I know, boys. We're going to recapture what that is, and I'm going to streamline my flock in that effort. And so what I have right now, you can tell these are all little young birds. I have 24 pullets and 1 cockerel in that pen for grow out, because everything I have right now I'm growing for me. I need my refill for next season. And if I wait too long, it changes when I can expect viable hatching eggs from them next season. So these birds right now at the tail end of June, I'm expecting hatching sized eggs in January, February. because I really do prefer to start hatching in January. That way I have 8-week-olds ready to go out, start foraging, doing their little chicken thing when our temperatures start to reflect that spring is coming. Because our whole point is food-based. So I schedule everything and those logistics to reflect our real-time, real-world needs. I'm not worried about show stuff for poultry. That's kind of like a little side-eye project. But the core basics, that's what I want to teach and show more about for the next 10 weeks. These guys, this young stock here, they're about 4 weeks up to 7-8 weeks, depending on which batch they're from. I did a lot of condensing, and I emptied out all of my brooders with the exception of the newest hatch, which my last couple videos are about. But for what I have right now, growing for me, I'm going to be able to break apart all these groups as they hit their growth milestones. And as we go through further condensing and refinement of the breeding birds. I have 30 females and 5 males in play. I know, based on hatch results, how they are now, how they've been over the last 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, I can probably pull 10 females out of this dynamic. And I can pull 3 males out of this dynamic because I know they could be better. So I'm going to need more space to get these guys grown to where I need them to be, plus the other pens I have, because this is by no means the only pen. But I'm thinking about what I want these breeding pens to look like next season. I'm thinking about how my schedule's going to be and what I'm going to be looking for. It's not going to be a bird like that one. She was too shallow in the chest, and she's a little on the narrow side, and I bet she's one of the ones that's laying me a tiny little egg still at their age. Everything I have in the breeding pens is 1.5 years old now. It is time for the final sort and filter. So these 3 pens on the back wall, they're roughly 5 by 7, and the most birds I will put in there is 6. 5 females, 1 male. So if I have 30 females and I have 3 pens for 5, 10, 15, I'm looking to lose half of my females. And they're not going to another flock. They're going into a freezer, because let me tell you, those older hens have a flavor profile, a fat content, and a sweetness to the flavor that no other bird can have. And I'm adamant on that. I'm taking the meal, not the money. Unless my meat buyer gets some, and we're in a little bit of a bidding war right now. I told him the price went up because that's how bad I want to keep them for us. And he's got to agree or disagree on that new price. We're competing for freezer birds because the meal is so worth it. So if I condense my current breeders to these 3 back smaller pens, it frees up these front bigger pens to actively grow, sort, and select, to figure out who's staying in these pens through winter. Because wintering over costs more than the rest of the season because they're pretty much eating what you give them. The forage is gone. The bugs, it's gone. Winter is the most expensive time to house birds. So of the grow outs, I'm looking for the best ones for these front 3 pens. I have some more points I want to make, but let me collect my thoughts and stay on track here. Alright, I went back to the house, I had lunch, I rewatched what I just recorded that you just watched, and I'm back with my final thoughts before another little marathon of chores in the summer heat. So when I talk about what this all is for, the future flock, our food, the sustainable nature of owning the entire process from breeding to hatching to grow out. I'm a one-woman show for the most part. My husband, he's super supportive, but the birds are pretty much my thing. He helps when I cry for help. When I'm like, please, it's hot. He'll come out and help for a little while, as long as he can stand it. But anyways, the next 2 weeks, I'm digging through these breeding pens. I already condensed one pen, which is how I got this empty pen. I called the male because he wasn't doing me any breeding favors, and those females that were with him are in this pen. And I did a hatch or two from them in that jumbled up, they still count kind of way. But what I'm going to be looking for, I pretty well have that dialed in. I've been through a lot, probably over 5,000 grow-outs now over the years. I'm getting pretty close to a decade, and if I wasn't so experimental, I'd probably be a little bit further in their breeding advancement. But I have one of those brains that wants to know why, how come? I have a lot of questions all the time, and my little brain sits there and stews on it and thinks too hard, and I have the patience level of I don't even know what. I am not the most patient person in the world. And most of my peers in the breeding scene, they always tell me just give them time, which is true. Giving them time to mature is very important. But I feel like once you know, you know. And I want to know as soon as I can so that those birds make a nice tender dinner. There's a balancing act that I'm looking for that I'm so close. I've touched it and then got distracted. I'm coming back at this now with knowledge that I've earned over years and years and years, because my first birds that I ever had was like 1989, 1987, something like that. But I'm not new to chickens. But I am relatively new to having a productive utility flock that meets our needs that are also breedable on our own farm. That hasn't really been stuck with over time. Over time, it's become a choice. Do you want speedy utility from hybridized birds that you just buy every time you need boar, and the hatcheries produce those? The hatcheries do a really good job of fast, short-term results, but those birds are not for breeding. If you want to do the breeding and you want to keep utility and you want something accurate for the breed they're supposed to be, that's a very small percentage of chickendom. That is knowledge that has been dying out along with the birds that can perform that way. If you can devote the space, time, energy, and patience to purebred poultry breed preservation and use those birds the way they were meant to be used, I really highly strongly encourage you to do that. It's a whole other perspective within chickendom that's a very, very small minority. And I'm a little bit sad that some of the more exciting breeds didn't really work out for my patience level and space and flock goals, because I need the meat to come with the eggs. I'm not trying to raise separate varieties to do different things. I want dual purpose. I know, birds. I want dual purpose from one breed. All of my videos are centered around that core principle. That's my flock goal. Meat, eggs, future flock, one breed. But I do love a good project. So while I go through the motions of what I've proven to be true with my American breasts, when I dig through this breeding stock, I'm going to be weighing everyone and also doing a health and wellness check, because I don't go through the adults that often. If I see a weird thing, I pull them out and evaluate that particular bird, but it's been a while since I've done bird by bird and looking at those little details. I'm going to be looking for who needs a nail trim, in case their nails are long and overgrown. Who needs a beak trim? Should be no one. And I'll probably question why that bird needs one, because the way I have my pens set up, they have lots of concrete and block and rocks and gravel and stuff like that to wear their beaks down on, so that becomes kind of a non-concern. But I still need to check everyone. I'm going to do a bug check, ruffling through their feathers, looking at their skin, looking at their condition, everything. How clean are their nostrils? Bird by bird, pen by pen, while I shrink this group of adults down to just those 3 pens in the back. While we set up the layer coop, and while we plan our freezer day to figure out who's staying for production, who's filling the ultimate goal, and who's going to be wintered over in those back 3 pens. Plus all the cleaning that goes with that. Which is going to give me the room to go through the whole process with the birds I'm growing for me. So over the next 2 weeks, it's going to be about the adults. We're going to dig into some details there on who's worth it and why, and who's not worth it and why. I have some other boys elsewhere on the property that are going to get their chance to shine. They've not been used yet this season. They're going to head the new female arrangements. And I'm going to have some tough choices on picking the boy that's going to rule the roost over in that layer pen. It is free range, open to the sky, and I need predator savviness. I need that male to have the wherewithal to protect his females and run a tight ship over there, because he's going to get an ongoing stream of pullets, and I need that leader bird to be responsible about that, which goes into temperament, the way they are, the way they behave. That temperament is a very important piece, because that temperament rules how that bird acts in your environment, in your setup, with your methods. I'll probably do a separate video on temperament, because it's varied, it depends. I'll show you what matters. As it is, it's hot, it's humid. I'm going inside to reflect some more. See that skinny little tail? It's kind of molting. I've lost about 50% of egg production, and I'm curious to find who is still laying. That's my most valuable girl right there. So we'll see as I dive in and dig a little deeper before resetting how I present videos and getting into the particulars and the details, now that I feel a heck of a lot more confident. And it's a relief to be done with the experimental side of things. I'm also excited to see how the purebred Chanticleer go, because that's going to be my little entertainment while streamlining what I already know how to do. Got to keep the mind busy. More on this later. Feel free to like and subscribe. There's a lot of details, and I'm probably never going to get all of it in one video, so just buckle in.